why I use a mint, but
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight here on Choices Markets YouTube channel. I'm Darcy Furness, the nutritionist in the South Surrey location. If you'd like to take advantage of our free nutrition services, you can email nutrition@choicesmarkets.com and you'll be set up with the nutritionist in the Choices Markets nearest you. A great way to stay in touch with all things healthy is to visit our website, of course, at choicesmarkets.com and sign up for our newsletter and flyers. You get good articles, recipes, advance notice of our sales, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. A couple of housekeeping details tonight. First, to thank you for your participation, we're going to be mailing you what we call a nut buck or nutrition coupon, and that's worth $10 off a $50 purchase. You're also going to be getting a lovely gift tonight from Canprev, who is our supporting sponsor. They're going to be giving each participant a free product of Synergy C, which you'll learn more about. You're also going to be entered automatically into a draw to win a beautiful gift basket with a retail value of $200. So what's going to happen is after this the seminar tonight, you're sent another email that asks you to complete a survey. And in that survey email, we'll ask for your full mailing address, and we'll ask you to identify which Choices Markets you're nearest. And then on Friday, you're going to receive a confirmation email telling you when you can pick your free product up. And for the seminar tonight, you can ask questions using the chat function in YouTube. To do that, you'll need to sign into your own YouTube account. So no worries if you don't have that. You can follow along, and I'll provide an email that you can reach out to if you have product questions after the fact. And also, Dr. Rory has offered a discovery visit, which is interesting. He's a virtual ND, and he can tell you a bit more about how he works. But if you want to learn more about naturopathic medicine or you're curious about this, you can go to his website. I'll also enter that into the chat, and you can book a virtual discovery visit, which is kind of interesting, I think. Okay, so tonight, we're going to start now and finish about 45 minutes, and then we'll take some questions and go from there. And know that this presentation is staying on YouTube, so you can come back and revisit and watch it again if you'd like to. So a little bit about Dr. Rory. He's a naturopathic doctor, and as I said, he practices virtually in the Lower Mainland and throughout British Columbia. He provides high-quality care to patients, and his clinical practice focuses on providing solutions to those struggling with fatigue, low mood, burnout, weight gain, and common skin and digestive issues. Tonight, Dr. Rory will guide us through navigating stress, and he's going to give us some tips on how to manage stress through lifestyle strategies and supplementation. And as a busy father of 2 young boys, I'm guessing that he knows a thing or two about managing stress. He has a baby and a toddler, so I'm quite sure he has some good stories to share with us. So without any further ado, I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to take my video off, and here's Dr. Rory. Enjoy.
All right, I'm just going to share my screen here, and you should all be seeing that right now. Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Darcy. Yes, so a couple things right off the bat. Discovery calls, yeah, absolutely. They are complimentary 15-minute calls with me, and you can just book that through my website, drrorygibbons.com, and it'll redirect you to a booking site. Yes, I do have 2 little guys, and one is 3, one is 11 months. So we have been told that we are in the thick of it, and I'm kind of understanding what that really means. Anyways, thank you so much for coming tonight and joining us for this webinar. I'm super pumped to do this in BC, like to speak to BC residents about their stress and their health. And I think that we can all benefit from some of these or all of these things that we talk about tonight. Huge thank you to Canprev and Choices Markets for having me and inviting me to talk on the subject that I feel so dearly about. And yeah, like Darcy was saying, questions in the Q&A box or in the comment boxes in YouTube, and we'll answer those later. So everyone's getting a Synergy C. That's awesome. I love that product. And then one lucky winner will be getting this lovely product basket. We're going to talk about all of these things tonight. I use these products with my patients all the time. They're wonderful combinations, and we'll learn all about them. So yes, great. Thank you again for the introduction. I don't really need to highlight too much stuff about me again. I do want to acknowledge, personally like to recognize that I'm presenting to you today from my home on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. And honestly, I'd like to encourage you all to learn about the land that you live on. And one way of doing that really easily is there's an app called Whose Land that you can download and kind of type in your address and figure out what kind of land you're settling on or you're living on. So, stress. A hot topic this year. I should probably change that and say like hot topic in the last 3 years, because it's been a bit of a gong show as far as pandemic goes and changes and restrictions and pivoting. And I've heard pivot way too many times in the last couple of years. But let's talk about stress and like what that actually means. So stress defined. Stress is how the brain and body respond to any demand. Okay, so any type of challenge, such as performance at work or school, a significant life change, or a traumatic event, can be stressful. And so that's a definition from the National Institute of Mental Health. And stress puts us into a state of nervous functioning called sympathetic, or commonly known as fight or flight. Okay, so we're going to touch on this a little bit more coming up, but I wanted to kind of break stress down a little bit more. So there's something called eustress and there's something called distress. Okay, so eustress is a good stress, and I'll tell you why. So stress gets a bad rap, but it's not all bad. All right, so eustress is a positive stress that can be thought of as motivating and that enhances functioning. All right, so usually it's not considered a stress, but it's sometimes labeled as like incentive or motivation. Okay, so exercise could also be considered a eustress unless you see it as a punishment. So usually in this situation, the energy provided from the stress is proportionate to what is needed in the situation, while in distress, the energy is excessive or unusable. Okay, I'll just read that quickly again. The energy provided is proportionate to what is needed in the situation, while in distress, the energy is excessive or unusable. Okay. Distress are stresses that tend to stress people out. Okay, so distress tends to cause people to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or to experience physical and psychological symptoms like headaches, tension, insomnia, inattentiveness, irritability, shortness of breath. The list, like, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And also digestive issues too. So anyone kind of feel like that? Like, yeah, you're not alone. I can tell you that one thing. So to reiterate, in distress, the energy that is produced from a stressful event is excessive or unusable in the situation. Okay, let's break it down even more. Macro stresses, micro stresses. Macro stresses would be like an ongoing toxic work environment, okay, or an ongoing toxic relationship or friendship, a stressful commute that you deal with on the regular. Okay, those are big things in your life that you can just be like, this big thing is an issue for me. Micro stresses are things that you may not think are taking a toll on you. These are essentially like tiny little assaults throughout our day. So things like someone not showing up on time, or the coffee pot not turning on when you really need it to. Those types of like little inconveniences, but they all add up cumulatively. This is a staggering. This is a kind of a staggering like statistic. So from fall 2020 to spring 2021, adults aged 25 to 64 screened positive for at least one disorder. Okay, I'm going to just break that, like anxiety or depression. Okay, so among the age group of 25 to 44, the proportion screening positive for major depressive disorder increased from 18% to 23%. That's a 5% increase. But that's scary to me. Like when you extrapolate that over a population, that's thousands and thousands of people. Proportion screening positive for generalized anxiety disorder increased from 15 to 20%. So same, 5%. For both time periods, proportions of positive screens for at least one disorder were higher for younger age groups relative to older age groups. Not to say that older people are not being affected by stress, but younger people, according to this study, are experiencing it a little bit more. as a population. So fight or flight versus rest and digest. I like using these terms because parasympathetic and sympathetic can get kind of wordy. Okay. So without going into too much fine detail, when we experience a stress, eustress or distress, fight or flight hormones are put into action to deal with it. Okay. So specifically cortisol and epinephrine, also known as adrenaline. Okay. We can't label hormones as good or bad. That being said, cortisol is often referred to as bad. It's only bad because we make it that way. Okay. We don't do a good enough job at regulating our own stress, allowing our body to rest and repair. Then we blame cortisol and then call it names. It's really our fault. It is literally just trying to do what we want it to do. Okay. So I also want to bring up the HPA axis. Okay. This is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And I'm going to show you a breakdown of this on the next page. This is the hormonal pathway that activates cortisol released from the adrenal glands. All right. It's actually not a part of the nervous system, but I want to bring this up because we'll be talking about nutrients that nourish this nervous system, but also the hypothalamic pituitary axis, which is a hormonal system. Just really quickly, catabolism versus anabolism. Okay, so catabolism means breaking down, and this is where cortisol gets a bad reputation. It's when tissue is surrounded by cortisol at a higher level for a longer term, it can break down. Okay, when it's secreted chronically, it degenerates certain tissues. Yeah. It sure does a good job of controlling inflammation, though. Okay, so you've probably heard of cortisone cream or cortisone shot. Those are there to crush inflammation, okay, which is great for symptomatic relief, but often it's not addressing the cause of the issue. The opposite, anabolism, means building up. And this happens when we are in a rest and repair phase of nervous activity. Think about sleeping, okay? Probably third, like, oh, you need to sleep in order to repair your body. Yeah, we need to build up our body during the time we are sleeping and resting. Short-term versus long-term stress, okay? These are important to kind of define as well. So short-term stress, humans are beautifully designed to handle short bouts of stress, but we really struggle to manage chronic and repetitive stress. It's like we're trying to patch up the damage, but more is happening at the same time when we're undergoing chronic. Short acute situations, our body handles the stressor with a release of cortisol and epinephrine. And then when it's over, these hormones decrease. They get recycled and it goes down in our body. But this isn't what we experience now. Okay, we experience negative stressors constantly and chronically, and cortisol is secreted at moderate to high amounts for longer than what we are designed to deal with. Okay, the brain then recognizes higher than normal levels of cortisol hanging around. The release of mother hormones from the brain can be dampened. Okay, so the brain's like, oh my gosh, we got lots of cortisol coming around. Okay, we're just going to like dial down the release of these bigger hormones that break down into the other hormones. Doesn't mean you're getting to a level of autoimmune disease like Addison's disease, which is a very serious autoimmune disease and can put you in the hospital. That's not what we're talking about today. Here is just a diagram of what I was saying. So this is the hormonal pathway here on the left, the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, brain to adrenal glands. That's what's happening here. And then this is the nervous system pathway here. Okay, so activating the fight or flight, which is SNS, sympathetic nervous system. And then these are the things that you experience. So increased heart rate, increased blood viscosity. You probably don't feel that, but the increased heart rate is a very common one. So stress honestly makes everything worse. It doesn't make anything better, like unless it's a eustress and it's like motivating you to get a task done. But we're just going to focus on distress tonight because that's what most people are dealing with. I wanted to put up some words here for you to take a look at, and I would put very good money on everyone feeling at least one of these things more than normal in the past few years. And I'm sad to hear that. And that's one thing that I'm happy to say that I've been treating successfully and helping people successfully. So let's connect the dots here from stress to mood, and we're going to just simplify it down. This is a very simplified flow diagram. I had way more stuff on here, but I had to pare it down. I just got carried away. But Here, in order to address the emotions that come from being chronically stressed, it's really helpful to understand where the issue is coming from. Okay, so as you can see by this very incomplete diagram, negative stress has a very holistic impact on our lives, including mental, emotional well-being. This is why every one of my patients is asked about stress. Okay, it's such a player in our physiological issues, and often it invokes a cyclical pattern. Okay, so a classic cyclical pattern that I think lots of people can attest to is gut issues, digestive issues. Stress makes you have altered bowels. The altered bowels make you nervous to attend certain events, which invokes a feeling of anxiety, which contributes to your overall stress. It's a vicious cycle, and then that overall stress makes your digestion worse, and just cycle. So as you can see, this is a holistic beast that we are dealing with. And another term that has come up in the last few weeks to me about stress and depression, anxiety is the term biopsychosocial, meaning there's a biological component, there's a psychological component, and there's a social component. So let's talk about what we can do, stuff that you can do like right away. As soon as well, maybe not right now, just hold on, let's finish the webinar, but you can start doing this stuff later, okay? Nature time. You've probably heard recently that in BC, doctors are able to prescribe nature time in the form of BC Parks passes, which is so sweet. I need to actually sign up for that service so I can start prescribing that to people. That is such an amazing thing that BC is doing. We need to get outside, and we live in such a beautiful place that we can do that for free, essentially, if you have a doctor's note. Or you can pay $50 and get your pass. There's plenty of scientific evidence to support the ancient art of Shinrin-yoku. Okay, it's a Japanese term. I believe it's spending time amongst trees, grass, shrubbery, streams. It's shown to improve blood pressure, cortisol levels, anxiety, feelings of sadness. I mean, I feel like we don't need like a scientific paper to say to prove that being outside in nature is helpful, but it's really great to be able to know that that's what happens. So get outside. I said this to a bunch of attendees from Ontario a couple of months ago, and they're like, no one wants to go outside. It's like minus 30. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Breathing is another thing. When we take part in breathing techniques, we activate something called the vagus nerve, which automatically starts pulling us out of a sympathetic state into a rest and digest state. Okay. Breathing deep into the diaphragm, you should feel your stomach go out. Okay. Not your chest up, but your stomach down and out. That is how we should be breathing. There's lots of YouTube videos that can help you through that. Physical activity. Notice I didn't say go and work out. Okay. Working out at the gym or even at home can be daunting to many people. Okay. So if you feel like your current level of physical activity is low, then it's time to get out and go for a walk. And even if you think if you're like, oh, it's fine, I want you to like really reflect on what you're doing for intentional physical activity. Okay. Time to start adopting the 10-minute walk rule. 10-minute brisk walk. There's actually some great evidence that supports the improvement in just that. Strength training is an excellent way to improve stress levels. It improves every aspect of your life, of your wellness, actually. If you want to take that up, I highly recommend a good personal trainer to help you start that journey. At least get you set up and have an extra pair of eyes. Digital data intake. Okay. So at the end of the presentation today, I'm going to say, yeah, this is where you can find me. You can find me on social media. And honestly, right now, social media, I haven't been on social media a whole lot. And it's been really, really wonderful. Right now on social media, there's an infinite scroll of information that spans from positive, uplifting content to very controversial and sometimes hateful messages. It's very easy to get caught up in this social media news and even news frenzy, like especially now in this state of our world. Been certainly suggesting lately, like get my patients and friends and family to try to unfollow people that trigger them on social media. Like if you just see someone, you're like suddenly getting anxious, unfollow or silence, whatever you do on your social media. And in some cases, honestly, just delete the app off your phone. Don't get me wrong, though. It's important to pay attention to certain updates in your area, but trying to limit the destructive noise, very helpful. Here's some more lifestyle things that you can start doing. Less screen time. Okay, when there's less screen time in your life, you're exposed to less you're exposed less to digital data intake. Okay, I'm not just talking about scrolling on social media, but talking about watching TV. Okay, so this is an escape for people, but it is not helping overall. Okay, it's taking away time in bed and rest, and probably taking away time with people. And we need people. We need to interact with people. It improves serotonin levels, which is one of our happy hormones. That connection. Blue light, also from constant screens, can also alter cortisol and melatonin release, and it can alter your sleep cycles. Journaling is something that isn't for everybody, but I encourage you to check it out. Okay, it doesn't have to be the stereotypical Instagram image of like sit down with a coffee and a plant while diffusing like essential oils with no kids around. That would be really great, but sometimes it's not reasonable. Okay, especially in my house right now. It can be done in 3 to 5 minutes if time is an issue. I've actually started to write in the 5-minute journal. So I guess I have started to do that. And it doesn't take much time. It just kind of shifts your mind into what am I grateful for? And that automatically releases like happier hormones in your body and just makes you feel better. Intentional thinking. I say intentional thinking, but people can see that as meditation as well. So it's a different way of approaching meditation. A simple act of thinking about breath in versus breath out automatically activates the vagus nerve. And as we learned earlier, this is the pathway to the rest and digest nervous system. Just thinking about and out. That is making my nervous system calmer. Okay. Here's another one. Talk to a friend. Reach out to someone who's open-minded and has proven to be a good listener in the past. Okay. Chances are they could benefit from some honest chats as well. Okay. If you're struggling to think of someone right now, like there are always counselors that are trained listeners and can help you get through difficult times and emotions. Right. And if finances are an issue and you can't pay for counseling services, there are free and subsidized programs in BC. Lastly, but not least, do something that brings you joy. Okay, sounds corny, I know, but it's so true. Like this doesn't mean something that the internet says should bring you joy. It's usually something that you did as a kid or a young adult. Just the other day, I was talking to a friend and I was like, "What's new and exciting?" And he's like, I did this, that, and oh, not much. Oh, I made a board game table. I was like, "What? You made a board game table?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it was awesome. I got into the garage and I got the saw out and the thing." And he started like woodworking was a thing for him and he really loves it. And so I was like, you need to tap into that again. Let's talk about some dietary hacks that you can use to kind of improve your mood. So sugar, like refined sugar just doesn't help us at all. Like for a lot of us, we crave sugar when things get tough and it enters into our diet with a vengeance. I am guilty of this. I'm working on it. When we inject sugar into our diet in a large amount, we alter our ability to deal with it, and this can create mood shifts. Okay, so a few things come to mind. What? We get a blood sugar crash, which can come out in the form of lightheadedness, irritability, and anger. So hangry, hungry and angry. Our brain is saying, there's no blood glucose, there's no blood sugar. Get out of the way, we need to eat. Second, we get an energy crash, not a blood sugar crash, an energy crash, and that looks like lack of energy and motivation, which then leads to less exercise, less outside time, et cetera, and that can kind of spiral down into like a depressive type state. Number 3, people can sometimes feel jittery, anxious, and nervous. So this usually happens with the person who is dealing with some sort of anxiety to begin with. And they eat like a bunch of processed sugar and it just like kind of hops them up and makes them a little bit jittery. Some sugar solutions, okay? Start decreasing the existing sugar in your diet, okay? Where they're hiding. So added sugar in the coffee, okay? The hidden cookies in your cupboard or the bag of candy in your car or office desk that like you think no one knows about. Maybe they don't, but those are some added sugar in your life that we can replace. If you don't buy it, then you don't eat it. Don't go to the grocery store hungry. I'm a big fan of Smart Sweets. I don't work for them, but just saying they're good if you want to have like a sweet treat. They have like 92% less sugar. There's about 3 grams of sugar in a 50-gram bag, just to like help curb your cravings. Caffeine. pretty simple here. Like, we know caffeine is a stimulant. If you are someone who is more on the anxious side, this may push you a little further into anxious feelings. All right. So here's some solutions. Start having half decaf, or decaf in the afternoon if you're a coffee drinker, or replace one of your coffees with a green tea and then herbal tea. So you're kind of bringing down that caffeine level altogether. Comfort food. I love comfort food. Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is burger and fries. The thing with comfort food is that usually they are a carbohydrate dominant meal. Okay. Other ones that come to mind: macaroni and cheese, lasagna, pasta with heavy cream sauce, cake, cinnamon buns. You get the picture here. Very carby. I'm not saying don't have these things, but think about how you feel afterwards. Like, most likely you are going to feel lethargic, heavy, full, bloated, etc., etc. I don't think anyone has that meal and reports feelings of elation, energy, uplifting mood, motivation. Not usually. They don't feel like they can get up and like run away and they're super happy. They might be super happy, but I don't know how like energetic they'll feel. Hydration. This one ties into energy quite tightly. Okay, so water has a major role in many chemical reactions in our body, especially in our energy producing pathways. Okay, so being hydrated helps move digestion along, helps the blood flush out metabolites from organs, lymphatics, and muscles. And honestly, there isn't enough time in the day to talk about how important drinking water is. And a cup of coffee does not count as water, by the way, for anyone that needs to hear that. Sorry. Let's talk about some nutrients and herbals. Whenever I'm tasked with talking to an audience about a topic, I usually look at the situation the way I look at a patient. Okay, so every situation is unique, and there's usually never one thing that is causing the problems, never only one factor. Okay, this is why I ask so many questions in my 60 minutes with you. More often than not, the situation needs a holistic approach in order to see long-term improvement. So this is what I appreciate about these products. It's a combination of ingredients are used to target a specific pathway to achieve progress. Every nutrient is in there for a reason. Let's talk about Adrenal Chill first. Okay. Oh man, this is such a good one. I love this Adrenal Chill. So Adrenal Chill and Adrenal Pro, which we're going to talk about in a second, both contain herbs that are considered adaptogens. Okay. So this may be a new word to many of you, but I'll explain. So an adaptogen is something that provides a normalizing effect. In other words, it's something that provides the body what it needs in order to combat any sort of stressor without causing much of a shift in normal functioning. Okay, so I'm gonna read that quickly again. It's something that provides the body what it needs in order to combat any sort of stressor without causing much of a shift in normal functioning. So Adrenal Chill is made up of 2 ingredients. I love the simplicity of this one: ashwagandha and L-theanine. Let's talk about ashwagandha first. So ashwagandha is also known as withania. It's an excellent example of an adaptogen. It normalizes daily cortisol release. High in the morning, low in the evening, right? Melatonin comes up in the evening, so we can go to sleep. We suspect that a constituent of the plant itself is mimicking on one of the body's own stress-reducing, relaxing hormones, which is called GABA. So we think that maybe ashwagandha is working like GABA does to like reduce cortisol and calm the nervous system down. The KSM 66 ashwagandha, which you can see that's written right here, very well researched type of ashwagandha, and is shown to really benefit people who have symptoms of higher than normal daily cortisol. So this is grown and harvested in India by what is called a farm to table integration. So they own the farm and the production of the ashwagandha. This patented ashwagandha took about 14 years to develop and refine. And in that 14 years, and now after, there has been some promising research conducted on it. Here are some studies. Okay, one study, there was a 22% drop in serum cortisol after only 8 weeks. That's pretty profound. That's only 2 months. It helps preserve vitamin C in the adrenal glands. So when we are chronically stressed, our adrenal glands dump vitamin C to allow our white blood cells to work. And we need vitamin C, and you're all getting some synergy C, so that's great. It reduces subjective measures of stress by about 33%. So people are feeling better. Study of anxiety showed an 88% reduction in anxiety symptoms versus 50% in placebo. 88% reduction. That's huge. That's huge. Also, sleep. Ashwagandha has shown improvement in sleep quality over 8 weeks, and we know that sleep has been proven to reduce anxiety and stress. Like, you sleep a lot or you sleep well, you're probably more resilient. Okay, stress and in regards to stress and mood. L-theanine. I love L-theanine because I know kind of how it works biochemically. So L-theanine is an amino acid that is used to induce calm and mental clarity without making you feel sleepy. So by itself, it's a great nutrient for calming the brain down and providing some thought clarity before activities that require mental work, like presentations, like exams, something like that. So you can expect this nutrient to show its effect within about 45 to 60 minutes. So if you have a presentation at 7 o'clock, you take one of these at about 6:15. So what does it do? It gets absorbed into the bloodstream, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and puts our brain into a more alpha wave state. So alpha waves are associated with a calm nervous system, one that is more rest and digest dominant versus fight or flight. Okay, you could consider the action of L-theanine as like a restful wakefulness. It sounds nice. Maybe to give you an example, like what would that look like? It's probably the state that someone would be in during a meditation session. Restful wakefulness. So you're calm, your mind is calm, but you aren't falling asleep. It also increases dopamine and GABA activity in the brain. And when this happens, people feel less fear and stress. Love it. L-theanine can also be taken on its own, but I often see people needing an adrenal support and L-theanine at the same time. A common question: can I take this at night? Will it keep me up because adrenal support? Yes, you can take it at night. I have never seen any issues with that. Adrenal Pro. I love this one too. One of the first adrenal products I tried as a young naturopathic student. It's actually my first Canprev free sample. This is a great combo of 8 different ingredients that address both the HPA axis and the central nervous system. So it hits a lot of areas. When we take this combo, we can expect to experience the following sensations: increased energy, reduction in stress and fatigue, improved sleep, enhanced sense of well-being, improvement in emotional well-being. So less anxiety if you're anxious, more happiness if you're depressed. I love this product because it hits stress pathways from many different angles. Okay, so L-tyrosine, sometimes referred to as the stress amino acid. Why, you ask? Because dopamine and epinephrine are literally derived from this amino acid. Like, they come from this amino acid. So if it's not present, the production of those critical stress hormones will be very limited. They're drawing on it from the depths. It also makes thyroid hormone, which we know is a metabolic regulator in our body. Vitamin B5, literally found everywhere in the body. Pretty important for adrenal function, because when people have a B5 deficiency, we see a compromise of adrenal function in general. And so when we correct it, then that corrects. KSM 66 ashwagandha is in there. We know that. We just talked about that. It acts to mimic GABA. There's this thing called Siberian ginseng extract. It acts to reduce fatigue and improve endurance and combat stress. A really cool side, really cool side fact of Siberian ginseng: back in the 1970s, this herb was heavily utilized by specifically Russian Olympic athletes, because of its physical effect. But then later, it made its way into the Russian cosmonaut program because of its effect on focus and mental clarity, which is really cool. It does so many things. So Schizandra, apart from its rad name, it contains all 5 flavors if you eat it. But honestly, at the end of the day, it gives us the feeling of energy. Rhodiola was really another great one that I use with my students that I see. Super cool. It actually is the fastest acting adaptogen, and we can see improvements in burnout and fatigue often within a week. Okay, so it's also has some properties that will act similar to antidepressants, but with a safer side effect profile. When I was a student, it was a real go-to for me during exam periods, just because it helped my focus like a lot. That makes sense now, because studies on ER, emergency room doctors, and military cadets showed increased capacity for mental work and less fatigue. So on its own, this would be great for someone that is stressed right now and can be taken like as needed. Astragalus. I love the addition of astragalus. I usually think of astragalus as a deep immune herb in that it stimulates white blood cell production at the level of the bone marrow. I like this herb in this combo because the stress often takes a toll on the immune system. In other words, it dampens the response of the immune system. It doesn't like shut it down or anything, but stress will just not allow the immune system to work as well as it could. And I believe that is a response to the cortisol release during that stressful time. Vitamin B6 fits more in the in the central nervous system pathways rather than the HPA axis. All right, remember that central nervous system versus the hormonal system. So it works more in the central nervous system, specifically making epinephrine and norepinephrine. And it doesn't just help the fight or flight response. It also does help GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. And these are calming and happy hormones. And we need those guys. How much you're going to have? 1 cap twice a day. Don't worry about it impacting your sleep. I haven't had a problem, but maybe just to be safe, just don't take it too late in the afternoon. Synergy B. Love Synergy B. B vitamins. Man, like we need B vitamins. We are crunching through B vitamins. As we talked earlier about adrenal chill, we know that L-theanine works to put our brain into a calmer alpha wave state, which is a great addition to the Bs, which are working to convert the food we eat into fuel for energy production. So when we activate alpha wave function, we automatically start suppressing the beta waves. All right, so alpha wave is that rest and digest, beta waves is the fight or flight. B vitamins all work together as cofactors in biochemical reactions to create energy. And I actually remember the moment that biochemistry and nutrition really clicked for me and came together, and I knew that it was going to be a part of my practice. Someone showed me a complicated diagram, and it was just a bunch of molecules and words and stuff. And so instead of saying this is converted to this with the help of NADH, they said this thing is converted to this thing with the help of vitamin B3. And that was the beginning of my interest in functional nutrition. I was like, vitamins are actually helping these pathways. These aren't just letters. Like it made things so much more clear and easy for me to understand. So B vitamins are water soluble, so they need to be replaced daily. So you certainly get these vitamins in the diet, but we need to keep in mind that often vegetables and fruits that we eat are not what they used to be due to farming practices and processing of food. Every time a food goes through a process, we lose more nutrition, and to add, they're being grown in nutrient depleted soils. And to add more, we are stressed out, so we are using B vitamins up at a higher rate than ever before. So we're not eating them, not eating as many as we are hoping, and we're burning up more. So that's a kind of a lose situation. So that's why I recommend B vitamins to basically every person that comes in and sees me, which usually they're all stressed out. B vitamins are also a very common component in like nutrient IV intravenous infusions. So that's what gives the IV bag the color. To add though, B vitamins all play different roles. For instance, B3 has a big role in concentration and mood, among others. B7 has a large role in fat metabolism and skin, hair, and health. And B12, 9, and 6 have a role in blood cell production and cardiovascular health. B vitamins, man. Side note on the B vitamins, pro tip, take them with food, please. They can be hard on the tummy and can give you a little stomach discomfort if you take it on an empty stomach. Magnesium, oh yes, okay. So magnesium, I love speaking about magnesium because it's one of those minerals that's cheap, effective, hits a lot of angles for patients, and people generally see a difference, usually quite quickly, okay? And to add, it's very safe mineral to use orally, and we know that it has over 800 different roles in the body. That's amazing. Not all magnesium supplements are created equal though, and there's plenty of research to show that they all do different things. So here's a little diagram right up here. The ones we're talking about are right here tonight: magnesium bisglycinate. It's a smaller molecule compared to magnesium malate citrate oxide. And I wanted to talk about the differences. So the magnesium bisglycinate, very well absorbed and utilized. Okay, it's a smaller magnesium, like I said. It's absorbed into the bloodstream via the gut and acts in many different areas. It's very diverse. So in the body, about 65% of magnesium is in your bones, and 30 to 40% is in your soft tissues, and only about 1% is in your blood. It's really hard to accurately test magnesium levels in the body because so little is found in the bloodstream. So you compare magnesium bisglycinate to magnesium oxide. Like here's magnesium oxide, here's magnesium bisglycinate. And this is total magnesium transporter. Just kind of think about this as total magnesium absorbed through the gut, through your digestion. Magnesium oxide is the main form in milk of magnesia. So most people have kind of heard what that does. It draws water into the colon, and then you have a bowel movement. Okay, it softens the stool up. This type of magnesium, not very well absorbed, and therefore stays in the colon. You don't really get much of the magnesium. Certainly helps with constipation, though. So magnesium, highly needed in our body. Okay, highest concentrations in our bones, hearts, muscles, and nervous system. It works to keep our heart rate rhythms steady. It promotes proper relaxation of our skeletal muscles and the heart. It helps metabolize blood sugar. It ensures nerve fibers fire well and can even help mitigate pain. It promotes regulation of blood pressure. What else? Activates vitamin D3 in our body. And of course, relevant to today's topic, can help create cellular energy and calm the nervous system down. It works in the central nervous system to calm it down. Okay. And if someone is dealing with chronic pain, magnesium is an excellent adjunct to your treatment because it helps to block a certain little pain receptor in the central nervous system for people that are dealing with chronic pain. It may not cure you, but it will help with the pain. Here is Canprev's magnesium bisglycinate 200 gentle. Every single one of these symptoms on here can come from chronic stress. And I've seen it both in myself, but in most of my patients. When I give them magnesium bisglycinate, they almost always have a reduction in at least one of these symptoms. And I think I'm speaking conservatively when I say that. I'd put money on it that most people here have experienced one of these symptoms in the last week, maybe. And this is why almost all of my patients go on magnesium, specifically this one. This magnesium product delivers 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium. So there are two other straight magnesium products, I should say maybe magnesium only products from Canprev that have less elemental magnesium. There's a 140 milligram dose and 80 milligram dose. So these ones are actually a little gentler on the gut and more well tolerated in people with sensitive stomachs like IBS, stomach acid issues, autoimmune disorders, Crohn's or colitis. Great thing about magnesium though is that it will go where it's needed, and you can't overdose on it if you take it orally. Okay. The body has a checkpoint where it stops absorbing magnesium and it just gets excreted through the bowels. All in all, probably one of my favorite minerals, and I take it every day, usually at nighttime because it helps me get some sleep. And as a new parent, sleep is very valuable. And when I have the opportunity, I want to get as much as I can. This is a super cool combo though, like magnesium plus GABA and melatonin. So for those people that are having some more complicated sleep issues and the regular magnesium is not cutting it, then this beautiful calming magnesium combo will most likely help. Two people come to mind that may need this product. People who can't fall asleep. It usually takes them about 2 hours longer than most people. And two, people for one reason or another are not following a usual circadian rhythm, that usual daily rhythm. So maybe someone who is trying to get past some jet lag, or someone who is a night shift worker. This is a go-to for my night shift workers, my police officers, firefighters, nurses. I mentioned briefly a moment ago that magnesium can help with sleep. So how? It actually plays a role in supporting deep and restorative sleep by maintaining healthy levels of GABA which promotes sleep. Okay, so melatonin in this product is a fast-acting ingredient that will put your mind and body to sleep, so it gets you to sleep. And then the GABA keeps you there. All right. GABA is an inhibitory transmitter in the brain. In other words, it's a molecule in the central nervous system that acts in a calming nature. Okay, so GABA enables the body and the mind to relax and fall asleep and to continue sleeping through the night. That's a key thing, unless you have kids that wake you up. Low GABA activity is actually linked to insomnia and disrupted sleep. So let's get some GABA in your life. If you're having some disrupted sleep, if you're waking up at nighttime, you can't figure it out, maybe it's low GABA. If you want to learn more about magnesium, go to magnesium.ca. It's Canprev's website on this mineral. They have some amazing information, and they have this PDF primer document that you can download for free, and it has some great analogies and great diagrams to learn more about magnesium, my favorite mineral. All right, vitamin D, one of my other favorite vitamins that I use in my practice. I usually test it. So let's talk about our super common, like good old vitamin D. Let's just make sure you're getting the right one. It's an important fat soluble vitamin that is needed into so many systems in our body. Specifically right now in our lives, I see vitamin D helping in two grand ways: support of our immune system and support of our mood. Basically, everyone can benefit from taking daily vitamin D, especially if you live in Canada. Get it tested if you're not sure, and of course, consult your doctor if you feel like you need more than on the bottle. The usual dose on the bottle is 1,000 IUs per day. The test you want to get tested, if you're interested, is 25-hydroxy vitamin D. Canprev's D3 right here is made in liquid and capsule form. This is a picture of the capsule bottle, and is a 1,000 IUs per cap, and I believe there may be a one coming out that is 2,500 IUs per cap. So D2 versus D3. What the heck? What's the difference? It's only a number, right? So when sourcing out a supplement to take, it's very, very important here to pay attention to the form of vitamin D. So D2 is synthesized in plants, mushrooms, and yeasts, and used typically in vitamin D fortified foods and some supplements. Okay, so fortified foods meaning like dairy products. The problem with it is that it is poorly absorbed and utilized in the human body, so you're not really getting a whole lot. D3 is the form that is made by the body when sunshine hits the skin. It's readily absorbed when taken internally, and the body has to do very little in order to use it. So to help in the absorption, Canprev has encapsulated the vitamin D3 into capsules of organic coconut oil, which is stable and enhances absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. The coconut oil is great because it's a medium chain triglyceride, in that it just like moves through membranes in the body very well. Most D3 supplements are made from lanolin. So if you are vegan, then you may want to source a different D3 product. Lanolin, if you don't know, is an oil that comes from sheep. There are some lichen-derived D3s, but the potency is not as high. So you just have to look at the dosage and adjust accordingly to what your healthcare practitioner has told you to take. Vitamin D deficiency is a common denominator amongst people with depression. It's not always the case, but it's a common denominator. Clinically, I see this often as we enter the fall and winter months. People will have a concern about seasonal affective disorders. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get your vitamin D3 checked, or your 25-hydroxy vitamin D checked. But we have to remember that depression is a multifaceted situation. As I said before, it's a biopsychosocial situation, and vitamin D3 isn't always a silver bullet. That being said, if it doesn't help a ton with your mood, then it's probably helping in a different way, probably helping support your immune system. D3 can come by itself, but it also can be purchased in combination with vitamin K2. That's a very common combination. K2 is great because it helps with bone density and dental health, because it takes calcium in the blood and redirects it from depositing in the kidneys and arteries and sends it to the bones and the teeth. So redirects the calcium floating around in the blood. That's amazing. Vitamins, man, do so many things in our body. All right, so last but not least, this healthy mood product. This is so cool. This healthy mood by Canprev is a jam-packed little capsule. And basically everything in it I have talked about already tonight, besides saffron. What a beautiful and cool ingredient in this product. And you can see this picture here. This is a saffron flower. What we're using is these things. These are called stigmas. So who should take this? People who have low mood and or feelings of nervousness can benefit from taking this, and it aims to kind of bring you back to normal. So to not normal, to neutral. So if you're feeling a little bit of anxiety, you come back to neutral. If you're feeling a little depression, come back to neutral. So saffron, let's talk about saffron and what it is and where it comes from. Certainly the main ingredient in this product, but the other ingredients work to have a harmonizing effect on mood. You get a few different pathways. So, but first, let's talk about saffron. Okay, the saffron we use is top notch. Okay, it's grown in Iran and processed in France, and the part that we use is called the stigma, and it's this beautiful red part, like I was saying earlier. In the world of saffron grading, the one that is used in this product is the highest grade, called Sargol grade. There's a whole grading system of stigmas for saffron. I had no idea until I learned about this product, and it's really fascinating. It's extremely rich in active metabolites, and we know that when used together, they are more effective when used in isolation. And so using those metabolites. So that's the wonderful thing about plant medicine, is that these constituents, they work together often better than when isolating the components out. The history of this herb dates back 3,000 plus years ago, mainly as a food colorant and the additive and an additive, but also traditionally in Persian and Indian Ayurveda, for its calming and hypnotic properties. It's used traditionally and supported by modern trials as well. So the attention that saffron gets is in people that have mild to moderate depression. Clinical trials have shown that saffron has been shown to be as effective as some leading pharmaceuticals in its class, namely imipramine and fluoxetine for mild depression. Noticeable results happen after 1 week, but main results happen around 6 weeks. 1 week, 7 days. 6 weeks is a month and a half. Like, it's not that much time to see results, which is wonderful. It gives people hope. For stress and anxiety, saffron works at dampening the effect of cortisol and mitigating the long-term effects of strong chronic stress via their potent antioxidant profile. For depression and mood, they have similar actions as some antidepressants, like I said, in that it works to block the reuptake of serotonin. So the serotonin can exist longer in the area of action and block the reuptake and provide more mood effects before being removed. Okay, so let's just break that down a little bit more. It's kind of a mouthful. So serotonin comes out of one side of the nerve synapse, comes out, the little neurotransmitter, and starts hitting these other receptors. Bam, 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 bam. And that is eliciting more responses to the brain, in the brain, okay? And when you have something like fluoxetine or you have something like saffron, it helps to allow those neurotransmitters to not be recycled, but to work again. So it's like an artificial increase in number of serotonin molecules that are helping to improve those happy nerve fibers. It also maintains dopamine and helps promote GABA action in the brain. So we can see how it improves mood in a few different angles. Very cool. Just a fast summary on the other ingredients as we wrap up. They're integral nutrients that act in the brain and deserve way more attention than what I'm going to summarize today. 5-HTP, it's there to help create more serotonin, as it is a direct precursor to the creation of serotonin. All right, GABA, main inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain that produces a calming effect. The other vitamins and minerals added to this product have shown to be supportive in making antidepressant and anxiety medications more effective. So we're just adding that in because we're assuming that these nutrients will help saffron because it has a similar mechanism of action. Just a note on B12. I love B12 as well. It is essential for the biosynthesis and metabolism of serotonin, amongst many other things. It does so many. B12 is one of those vitamins that does so many things. Instructions: 1 cap 3 times a day. shouldn't make you drowsy. It's rad. I like this one. And let's just wrap this up. So summary on this presentation tonight, we talked about the stress pathways, the states of stress, hormones involved. We connected the dots from stress to mood changes in that one awesome flow diagram that I made. Mind map. We talked about lifestyle and dietary additions and subtractions in some ways that you can start working on. And then we talked about these wonderful adaptogens, vitamins, minerals, and saffron. So I want to encourage you guys to think, what is one thing you're going to do for yourself after this webinar? Okay, so for me, I'm going to intentionally write some things down in my 5-minute journal tonight. Maybe one is grateful for this opportunity to speak to so many wonderful human beings. I'm going to answer some questions now, and Darcy is going to come back on.
And here I am. Thank you very much, Dr. Rory.
Yeah,
that was an excellent talk, and it's
thank you.
It's a bit different when we're not actually with Zoom people. So I appreciate that you feel our presence here. It's great.
Yes, I do.
A couple things I think you brought that were so great, talking about getting out in nature, also how sugar can be so detrimental, and I love that you really tackled vitamin D and magnesium, because those are, in that order, vitamin D and mag are the top 2 nutritional deficiencies. So, and stress is so many things, isn't it? And I think you covered that beautifully. So thank you so much for being so comprehensive on that. We just have one question, and it's a gal asking if you're able to share your slides and pictures and some of the information around the supplements. And that's something that we can also reach out to Canprev and talk about. And I've left my email in the chat, my personal one here at work, so people can also reach out to me if that's something that you would like me to manage there.
Yeah. So I love how people want to learn more and go back. And a really, really easy way to do that is just go to the YouTube recording. And then you can do that on your own.
And take photos. And
take some photos, screenshots, whatever.
Great.
And if you have any more questions, like, you can contact Canprev, and you can email them at social@canprev.ca. And if you're interested in connecting with me, I'm more than happy to talk. Honestly, the best way to get in touch with me right now is emailing me at drrory@virtualhealthcollective.ca, because I am, like I said in the presentation, I'm taking a little hiatus from social media for the betterment of my health and my family's health.
Wonderful. Just give me your email one more time, and I'm typing it into chat.
Sure.
Dr. Rory.
Dr. Rory at virtualhealthcollective.ca. It's right up here on the slides.
Perfect.
I believe I'm still sharing them. And I just thank you so much for having me to speak on this topic tonight.
We have a couple more questions coming in here, which is great.
Okay, hit me.
One, can these products be taken with medications such as antidepressants?
Yeah, good question. No, I mean, some of them, no, absolutely. You're going to have to talk to your provider for that. So the reason why is, like, let's take SSRIs are very common antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication, and that is a selective serotonin receptor uptake inhibitor. And so things like saffron can have an additive effect, and that can, you have this one dose, but you take something else and it does the same thing, you can actually make your issue worse. And it's something called serotonin syndrome, and we don't want to go down that route. So if you are on a medication, thank you for bringing it up. If you're on a medication, please ask your healthcare provider to clarify if taking something like Healthy Mood is going to impair or be contraindicated. Okay. Perfect. Taking things like magnesium, vitamin D3, probably okay, but of course, like, check with your healthcare provider. This information tonight is meant for education purposes only, but I'm happy to help where I can.
A couple questions about magnesium, and I did put in the website to get the magnesium primer from Canprev, which is really great. I actually downloaded that. I have that, because magnesium can get quite confusing. One of the questions is, what is elemental magnesium? And then the second one you could roll into is, does magnesium bisglycinate cause drowsiness?
Right. So first one, what's elemental magnesium? And as I was saying that tonight, I'm like, maybe I should clarify that next time. So elemental magnesium is when the magnesium and the other molecule break apart. Okay. So magnesium bisglycinate or magnesium glycinate is a magnesium mineral plus a glycine amino acid. Okay. So magnesium on its own, we can't take that and eat it and use it. We need to have it in a stabilized form. So we add glycine on, and we add citrate on, and then we eat it. It goes in. It works with enzymes and other cofactors where they breaks the magnesium apart and then is utilized in an appropriate fashion in the body. And that is the elemental magnesium. Okay, so the reason why I say elemental magnesium is because when you're looking at other products, they may say it has 200 milligrams of magnesium, but how much of that magnesium is actually being utilized? All right. And so having something with 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium it's a pretty good dose in a capsule. And it may be hard to find another one that is that readily available to the body. And the second part of that question was, does it make you drowsy?
Yeah, it was a different person, but does mag bisglycinate cause drowsiness?
No, I would say no, because for a couple of reasons. I recommend magnesium at all times of the day. What magnesium does, it helps the GABA activity in the brain, and the GABA activity it helps bring the brain from a beta wave state into an alpha wave state, and it's like that restful wakefulness state of mind where you're not drowsy, but you're calmer. Okay, so magnesium is one of these minerals that it does a whole lot of things. So that's one thing, but what another piece of the calming nature of magnesium is it relaxes our skeletal muscle system. And whenever we're stressed, we know this, like our shoulders get tight and like we get tight muscles. Magnesium works to relax those muscles, which has an opposite effect to the central nervous system. The central nervous system says, okay, muscles are relaxing, so maybe we should relax. Like, how do you feel after a massage? Right, pretty good, right? So the muscles are relaxing and your central nervous system is relaxing. Well, most people feel good after massage.
So magnesium is good at bedtime if you have trouble sleeping, and if you're a great sleeper, you can kind of take it whenever.
Yeah, totally. That's
perfect.
Yeah. I recommend it usually at nighttime.
Great. The final question we have is, which supplement would you recommend for tiredness, which is caused from a lack of sleep? Is there a supplement? I'm thinking maybe this person is wondering about something that gives you better energy. That's what I think I'm reading into that.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And it's, I can't just say one thing, because first thing, why aren't you sleeping? We need to figure that out. And secondly, there are so many other reasons why you may be tired, right? If you're female, no, not if you're just female, iron is a big one for people. Some people have really crummy sleep and low iron, and they just are tired all the time. This could be a thyroid concern where you're having a sluggish thyroid. This also could be a mitochondrial issue where your mitochondria are not pumping out as much ATP as much as we need. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a specific answer, but addressing sleep is going to be a good one. And then Adrenal Pro, I would say, is also a good a good suggestion for someone who is looking to get some more energy. But again, we need to look at the holistic view of that person of why they're not getting, of why they're low energy. Oh, I hate having low energy.
Fair enough. I know it's so hard. There's so many things, as you say. It's not one thing.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. Okay. Well, that's great. Dr. Rory, thank you so much again. And I'm sure our listeners tonight enjoyed hearing you as much as I did. So
thank you.
Everyone, Dr. Rory's agreed to come on board as a Choices Wellness partner. So hopefully we'll have him on doing more seminars for us. And hopefully I'll get him to do some newsletter articles and whatnot for us. So stay in touch with our
Yeah.
website, and we'll keep an eye out for more of Dr. Rory. So thanks again, everyone. Keep your eyes on future seminars coming out, and watch for that survey email tonight to offer you the goodies. And please take advantage of some of those links that I've posted in the chat if you want to follow up with any of this information. So thank you all again for coming, and have a great evening.